I'm in. Join meeting. You're all emailed. Ah, at Eli Bay? Oh, hang on. Eli Bay at me.com. Okay. There's a meeting URL. I think that's what you have. Okay. Shouldn't be. I'm in. Oh, it didn't. Eli Bay at me.com didn't go through. Can I send it to the other address? Okay. Could be. Could be you need to be on your computer, and Safari might be a problem. Yeah. So there is a phone number. There's a list of international numbers. No. Come on, get it. 647-558. Oh, 647 47 558 0588. 647 558 0588. And then the password, meeting ID, is 943, same as I gave you, but 943-324-3137. Yeah, like the same as the computer. Okay, sounds good. I'm there. I'm on video. I'm on video even. Yeah, okay. All right, I'm going to let you go because I got to get set up here. Okay, thanks, Eli. Ciao. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
So we work. Now, I'm not
Yep.
sure how many people are showing up. I got a few people that said they have other.
I'm here with you
I know.
and who's ever out there, you know,
That's how I feel. Who's ever
yeah.
here is here. I'm going to record it and we'll go from there, you know?
Yeah. I'm ready, sir.
Okay, cool. I am too. I got my notes, my trusty notes. We'll wait for other people.
Yes.
All right. Cool. I'm just going to do this. And here we go. Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. We are recording this, so it'll be available, I'm hoping I'll post it to YouTube in the next couple of days. Really delighted, Eli, you're still there.
Yes.
To launch our 5-week transformational webinar series tonight. And our first guest is Eli Bay. I'll get to his bio in a second. I just was in kind of tapped into Louise Hayhouse's summit, Cancer Summit. It's an online summit hosted by Chris Carr, and she's a speaker and author and leader of this summit. And she states that we've got to start taking stress more seriously. It could not be, she says, more critical to improving our overall well-being and preventing or healing disease. In her research and conversations with her summit experts, and the summit was held online through Hay House this past October, the idea and impact of stress really hit home for her. Chris states that stress wears us out, distracts us from our joy, and creates a nasty environment in our bodies, one that leads to diseases like cancer. There will also be stress in our lives. We can't avoid it altogether, whether it's a super busy time at work, adversity in our personal lives, or both at the same time. The perfect storm, am I right, she says? We all have moments that bring us to our knees. We can't control that, but we can control how we react. That's why we need better tools for stress relief and prevention. And they don't always have to be complicated or intricate. It's about finding small ways to reduce everyday stress and boost our overall well-being so we're more resilient when dark times come our way. So with that, let's welcome our guest tonight, Eli Bay of the Relaxation Response Institute here in Toronto, Canada. And really happy to have him. I think Carolyn just joined us, so if I'm not mistaken. And for over 30 years, Eli Bay has been helping people substantially reduce and in many cases eliminate chronic anxiety, insomnia, fibromyalgia, migraines, chronically high blood pressure, depression, and many other stress-related physical and psychological conditions. With over 80% of physical health conditions being driven by stress, the learned skills of stress management techniques, as taught by Eli, have produced remarkable changes for thousands of his students, not to mention what proves to be a measurable value to virtually all is an increased sense of well-being and the ability to change your response to the stress triggers in your life. So welcome again, Eli. Good evening, and also welcome to all our participants. Carolyn, I think you joined us, right?
I'm here.
All right, good. So,
hello everybody. I'm Eli.
Eli Bay. So, Eli, what can we do to take positive steps to reduce and manage stress in our day-to-day lives?
Well, first of all, I would like to give a little more context because it is my firm belief. I've been doing my work really for 40 years. This year is my 40th year of. I opened up stress management in the Toronto Yellow Pages back in 1978. But the reason why I got involved in this whole area in the late 70s was that I plugged into the concept of exponential growth when I was an undergraduate in the late 60s. And if you understand exponential growth, you begin to appreciate that we are living in a time that is really quite unusual. Exponential growth means that we're living through the time in which change has changed. And we are subjected to demands on our bodies and minds that no humans have ever been subjected to. I mean, our bodies really haven't changed since we were hunters and gatherers. In the last 30 to 50,000 years, our bodies really haven't changed. But in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, there's been this incredible acceleration of change. So much so that, I mean, we went through more change during the last decade than all of the changes that have happened in all of prior human history. And that the next decade promises to make the last decade look slow. So you have to understand that our bodies are those of hunter-gatherers, and we're living in the 21st century. And that fact alone, I mean, Alvin Toffler identified this phenomenon back in the early 1970s. He called it future shock. And that, unfortunately, is what's happening today. That just, you know, when someone tells me they don't have any stress, all I can say to them is they don't either understand what stress is or they're dead, because you can't escape from stress. Stress is part and parcel of modern life, whether you like it or not, or whether you know it or not. And just by waking up in the morning in this culture at this time, you cannot escape from having demands on your system that may be greater than that which your body's been built to handle. So that's my starting point. Mm-hmm. And then we go through, then we have our own individual stressors, you know, the commute, the techno stress that we were talking about before we went on air, you know, having to deal with all the technologies and I mean, life in the 21st century, from almost every direction is putting pressures on our systems, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We're being stretched and strained. In fact, actually, I think one of the best ways to get a handle on this issue of stress is Dr. Hans Selye, who is the Canadian research physiologist at the University of Montreal, who coined the term stress, which was an engineering term. He, in his latter years, said, I think I would have been closer to the mark if I would have labeled this phenomenon strain instead of stress. Another engineering term, by the way. Because to understand the issue of stress, you have to appreciate that stress is about our bodies having to work harder than they should be. I mean, to understand, I guess, the issue of stress, imagine you're driving down the highway and you're listening to your favorite music and you're just whizzing along and not a care in the world. And then without any warning, a monstrous transport truck just swerves in front of you and you have to react, and you instantly react. You don't even have to think about it. Your body automatically reacts. You avoid the terrible accident. But as you drive on, you notice that your heart is beating fast, your shoulders are tight, your mouth is dry, your hands are moist, your mind is racing, your stomach's in a knot. But as you drive on, you heave a few sighs of relief and your body goes back to normal. But what happened in that instant when that truck swerved in front of you? Well, your eyes perceived a threat, a legitimate threat, the truck. And through a process now well understood by medical research, that threat is conveyed from the eye via the optic nerve to a part of your brain known as the hypothalamus. And I'm not trying to impress you with jargon, but the hypothalamus is today recognized as kind of like the brain's brain. And when the hypothalamus gets the message of threat, it immediately sends a message to the pituitary gland, or the body's master gland, of threat. And it, in turn, sends a message that activates the adrenal glands. And I think we're all familiar with the adrenaline rush. Yeah, you hear it screaming at night and you feel your whole body tighten up. Well, when the adrenaline pours into your bloodstream, your whole body reacts with a fight or flight reaction, just like if you, like a cat with its back arched, hair on end, ready to fight or to run. The stress hormones pour into your bloodstream, and instantly your blood pressure rises, your heartbeat speeds up, your muscles tighten up, your pupils dilate, your senses become more heightened, your digestive processes slow down, your liver starts to produce more glucose, more blood sugar. Your whole body reacts with a survival mechanism that one doctor called the fight or flight reaction, another doctor labeled stress. But it's just this body ready to fight or to run. It's a survival state. Great in a time of emergency. Not so great when it's chronically on. And unfortunately, primarily because of the time in which we're living, because of this future shock that we're having to deal with, that it's a given that the fight or flight response is on at a low level all the time. And why can I?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Noise, everybody. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
We're talking about the fight or flight, and then
yeah,
that's on, in the case of an emergency. What you were alluding to is that there's always low lying.
It's on
all the time.
Yeah, it's on chronically, and that is the important thing to understand. That just, again, because of the time in which we are living, and then you add all the other stressors in our life, and there's all kinds of sounds coming out.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's funny. I was on Facebook this past week, Eli, and Loretta LaRoche is actually a friend of mine. And for those on the call, welcome, by the way. We just really started, so you haven't missed a ton. And I'm recording this, so I'll also get the recording out. But she posted the other day a comment on Facebook. And for those that don't know Loretta LaRoche, she's a transformational speaker using humor. She used to be on PBS. She was just here actually in Toronto with Tony Robbins and Jen Sincero, the author of You're a Badass. She was on the bill. Great speaker. And she was talking, I guess, about the violence that we see day to day in the news. And that I think is another stressor that we become numb to almost. Like there's almost like we don't know how to respond to that. What's your all of these sort of the news we're seeing, the violent video games, being on Facebook and seeing how everybody's life is great.
Yeah.
We're stuck home on Saturday night knitting, What's your take on that kind of stress? Those sort of stress.
We get stress.
Well,
we're getting stress from so many. I mean, we could spend this whole hour, this whole evening, probably into tomorrow, talking about causes of stress.
Right.
So the point I want to make is that you can't. That everybody needs to take it seriously. It's not just something that happens occasionally. That stress is part and parcel of modern living. So knowing that, we need to break out of the cycle of stress, because the problem with stress is not episodes of stress. The problem with stress is when it's on chronically. When, and different people are going to respond to different stressors differently. I mean, one person may love to stand in front of a group of strangers and deliver a 2-hour extemporaneous presentation, and someone else in the same situation would rather die. I mean, so different people react to stressors differently. But the point is that we all have to understand that stress cannot be avoided, and that we all need strategies to help us break out of the cycle of stress. And a model I like to, or a metaphor I like to suggest is that of a steam boiler. You have internal pressure building in the boiler, and if it continues to build and there's no safety valve, eventually the boiler explodes. In a similar fashion, stress builds. If we don't have a way to release it, we end up with serious problems. At least 80% of all, and that's the conservative estimate, at least 80% of all illnesses have stress playing a major causal role. And stress makes every illness worse. So we need to appreciate that what's missing for most of us is a release of stress, is a way to properly get rid of it. We think we may get rid of it by watching television, watching a hockey game, or a football game, but in fact, research have actually determined that you can come away from watching a game with more stress hormones in your system than before you started.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Uh,
So Eli,
uh,
hey,
yes.
okay. So I want to get to some ways that we can beat it, but I just recently watched a documentary, and for those with us, and welcome Paulo and whoever else has joined us, we're with Eli Bay of the Relaxation Response Institute. We really just started maybe about 10, 15 minutes ago, so you haven't missed a ton. And I've been recording, so I will send them out. In a documentary I just watched called The Connection, Mind Your Body, producer Shannon Harvey was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that left her debilitated, and the prognosis at 24, she's 24 years old, was bleak. She was ridden with pain, anxiety, to arthritis. And here was a vibrant journalist, recent graduate, a great career on the go happening in TV journalism, finding herself almost unable to carry on. So, in the background to her quest and her researching this documentary, which, if you go on to The Connection, Mind Your Body, you can see clips of the documentary. She states that there was one thing she did know. When she was stressed, she got worse. And with a background in journalism, she sought to seek answers in this pioneering science on stress management. And on her journey to getting better, Shannon realized that in order to change her health, she needed to change her mind. What's your take on that statement, Eli? And also the work you do with your clients at the Relaxation Response Institute, what results have you seen in your clients when they begin a practice of, meditating, affirmations, and working really to shift the mindset?
Well, that's the nature of the work that I have been doing for 4 decades. Is I teach people practical ways to shift their state, and it's either through the body or through the mind. We use techniques of breathing, for example. I mean, when you start to breathe as if you are relaxed, you literally start to become relaxed, and it's not a theory; it's an experience, and I'm an experiential trainer. And I teach people through experience how to shift state, and you can do it through affirmation as well, through self-talk, through positive. It's focusing intention. If you begin to appreciate that it's all choice. I mean, we choose what the thoughts that we put in our heads. We choose our state, and when you can choose to shift your state through either self-regulating your body, or using proper focused intention, it's dramatic, but it's not theory. It's all. I tell people to take everything that I say as hypothesis. What is real is what they experience, and I deliver experience either through audio or video, or I'm a hands-on trainer as well. But I tell people, don't believe it. You do it and you experience it, and what's real is what you experience. But I have seen profoundly dramatic things happen. I didn't set out to be a healer. I set out to teach people new skills for living in a new world. And back in the late 70s when I started, that was pretty avant-garde, and people didn't quite appreciate the scale of change until we got into the 21st century, and now everyone is just sort of reeling from it, still haven't really pinpointed the cause of much of the malaise that people are living with is a result of the demands of exponential change. To understand exponential, it's like it's we think geometrically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when you think of exponential, 2, 4, 8, the numbers can get very large very quickly. I mean, it is stunning. And I mean, that's why people have to begin to appreciate that exponential numbers are unique, and that because you need to understand that to understand the scale of change in which we are living through at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like it is unlike anything that has ever been experienced before, and we're an experiment, and we don't even know how successful we are because you look at the dysfunctions and breakdowns that are happening physically, mentally, emotionally, You can't, we better get a handle on these 21st century demands. Or, right now the stats are suggesting that we're not doing too well.
No.
But again, it could be as simple as learning to breathe properly. I mean, I have friends that just think it's hilarious that I do, my work is teaching people how to breathe. Ha ha ha! Doesn't everybody know how to breathe? But yes, when you learn to breathe in like a yogic breath, but simple breathing, simple, counting, inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Even doing that can be dramatic for people. Because, you could be in the midst of a very stressful situation and begin to immediately self-regulate through your breathing. You can immediately and almost immediately shift your state and bring your blood pressure down, your blood sugar down, your heart rate down, slow down your brain waves. I mean, it's not insignificant. And every child should be taught conscious breathing. But we're not.
Right. And or meditation.
But yes, meditation, I come out of a meditation background.
Right.
But I created my program to take meditation to people who might normally shy away from the concepts of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I built on the work of Dr. Herbert Benson, who was a cardiologist, a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, back in the early 70s, was looking to see if there was a natural strategy that could be taught to people with mild high blood pressure. Because with all medications, there are side effects. So if you can treat people without medication, all to the good. So they began experimenting and discovered something that the yogis had known for millennia, but once Western science had to measure it before it could become real. But they discovered that hardwired into every nervous system is what they called the relaxation response. But technically, it's the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system,
right?
Which, in other words, is the exact opposite of the stress reaction. Stress is the sympathetic branch. Relaxation response is the parasympathetic branch. They are equal but opposite mechanisms. One is an arousal state. So if you're driving down the highway and the truck swerves in front of you, on would come the sympathetic nervous system, the arousal state, blood pressure up, heart rate up, muscles tense. And after the near accident and you heave a few sighs of relief, in comes the parasympathetic branch, or what we call the relaxation response, to restore homeostasis, equilibrium. So it lowers the blood pressure, slows down the brain waves, relaxes the muscles. And until Benson's work in the early 70s, Western medical research did not believe that as individuals we could intervene and shift turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. It is now accepted, but it's still not widely taught. And the fact is that it is now an accepted fact that everyone with proper technique, and it's as simple as it can be as simple as breathing or focusing the mind on a repetitive sound. You could literally engage or turn on the mechanism in the body that literally tunes down, shuts down the stress arousal state, and basically induce a state of rest, deep rest, measurable rest. They found at Harvard Medical School that 5 minutes after we turn on the parasympathetic nervous system or the relaxation response, our bodies are producing a state of rest that otherwise could only be achieved after sleeping for 4 to 5 hours. Now, it doesn't replace 4 to 5 hours. It just means that within 5 minutes, you can drop down into a profoundly restful state. They measured oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide elimination to get a sense of the state of rest. So what I do in my work is that I teach people how to engage a deeply restful state. And it literally and measurably shuts down the stress reaction. And the body has a chance to reprogram, to rest, to recuperate, to heal, to balance, to attune. And that's what's missing, where we're on all the time and we rarely ever get down into this deeply restful, recuperative state.
So how often can we do this in a day? Like,
Well,
after you get, responses from those you work with that say, well, I'm too busy, I don't have time. How often and how long does this take? You mentioned 5 minutes.
well, you just gave me the perfect way to segue into this. I can tell you that I tell people, people who say to me, I don't have time to do your course. And I say to them, well, then you'll have time for my son. And they give me a puzzled look. And I say, my son is an ICU doctor. And they will always find time for the ICU. But I would like to suggest that we need to make the time before we get to that point. But it could be, it depends how adept you are, how skilled you are. I mean, in my work, I train people and recommend them to spend at least 20 minutes and preferably, even more. I mean, personally, I would like to do 30 to 40, but even as little as 10 minutes done well on a consistent basis. And the issue is consistency. If people wait only to do it when they feel out of sorts, then it can get rusty and it may take them on. But if you build it into your life the way you floss your teeth or exercise, to do, several times a week, you don't have to do it daily, although preferably the more the better, within reason. But if you can do 4 or 5 times a week for 15 or 20 minutes, but do it well, if you could train yourself to drop down quickly, like I find in the courses that I teach, most people don't, have had no training in it. So they're neophytes, and it takes them a few weeks to get skilled to be able to let go, because that's what it involves. The people who try the hardest in life, the type A personalities, people who try hard and everything, they find the harder they try to relax, the more tense they're going to become. So it's learning that why it takes time is they have to learn to allow themselves to let go into relaxation.
Right.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah. And deprogram from their normal sort of way of being. Buddha once said,
that's right.
We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. So meditation, relaxation, deep breathing helps us to quiet the mind, the fear, the mental chatter that comes up continually. I know I have it.
Also, I could just suggest, David, that when people go into relaxed states on a fairly consistent basis, and this could, appear within a week or two, if they do it consistently, they find that they're much more positive and optimistic, and they feel better about themselves. And it's very interesting to see. Almost everybody reports they have less anger and feel more optimistic. I mean, I've always come to appreciate that relaxation is the physiological embodiment of optimism. I mean, please understand that, if you're walking around in a low-level chronic stress state, and that is the new normal, your body is literally revved up, ready to fight or to run. It's low level, but it's chronic, so we're so habituated to it that we don't even notice it. Often people only appreciate how chronically stressed they have been for so long was when they go through a relaxation experience and they come out of it and they go, oh, I had no idea I had so much tightness in my jaw or that my shoulders were around my ears, because that's normal for most of us. And if you don't ever really shut down, you don't know it. Sorry.
So you're saying 10 minutes a day at least, right? Maybe even
at
more,
least, yeah.
Maybe even 2 times 10 minutes, or subway ride home or what have you. And then you're also, what I also heard is that if you practice this, that it could take about maybe 2 to 3 weeks to start seeing some positive health and healing effects. Is that correct?
I mean, some people see it, I mean, I've seen in my career, I mean, it's not common, but I've probably seen 24 people come to class 2 a week after class 1, and you wouldn't recognize them from the week before. I mean, it's not common, but I've seen it. I mean, I've seen people come in a week later looking 10 years younger, and it's like stunning to everyone. But it's, if someone's been in chronic pain for years and suddenly, there's a shift that happens. And I've seen this happen, people who've had panic attacks, anxiety attacks for decades, able to stop them within a week. When you can stop a panic attack, it loses its control over you. I mean, it's all about empowerment. I mean, that's the whole nature of the work that I do. I empower people to manage their own reactions. I mean, again, stress is not out there. There are stressors out there, things that cause stress, and they're different for each person. But stress is our reaction to those outside stressors. You may not be able to control the stressors that are coming at you, but you can get awfully good at managing your own reactions. And that's the nature of stress management, as I have come to appreciate. Learn how to regulate yourself and to do it consistently. Again, not just when there's an emergency, but to build it into your life, like as with exercise. Do it a few times a week. Again, find times, experiment, find the times that work for you. I mean, there have been periods in my life where I did it just prior to sleep. I did it first thing in the morning. I did it when I came home from work. It depended on different stages. When my children were young, my children were older. But you find that what works for you. There's nothing that's really carved in stone in terms of an ideal time. Mm-hmm. But it's finding the break, taking the break, finding that safety valve where you can literally let go of all the stuff that is coming down upon us from every direction. It's unwinding, it's letting go, it's learning to become a human being instead of a human doing once again.
Yeah. I could just see it one day, I hope. Instead of going to a bar for a drink, we go to a bar for a little meditation, And the benefits of relaxation meditation are being proven again and again by researchers around the world every day. Scientists have shown meditation can enhance your immune system, as you alluded to. It can help you cope with chronic illness. It can change your brain structure to help you cope and deal with anxiety. And Lord knows we all have it these days. Focus and attention. And so I'm liking what I'm hearing from you, that it's easier to do than a lot of people, kind of are led to believe or think. And if you do it, again, a couple times a day, 10 minutes, at a time, for a few weeks, you'll start seeing great results. And a good number of people, if I say that, they can't do it. They can't meditate. First of all, what is meditation?
May I just say that, people, different types of meditations are for different types of people. Mm-hmm. That's why I offer a range of different things. I mean, there are many people who rather than try to quiet their minds, which is the most difficult path, find it far more effective and easier to focus on quieting their body and discover through experience, not concepts, but through experience, that the body and mind are not separate. That you can quiet your mind by relaxing your muscles, and you can relax your muscles by quieting your mind. Hmm. And if you ask people, okay, I want you to sit down now and quiet your mind, for many people, it just makes them crazy. They just don't have the background, the skills, the wherewithal, and they get very frustrated very quickly because they realize that it's one of the most challenging tasks that a human could be asked to do. However, if you tell them, okay, now we're going to relax your muscles, that's far less threatening and far more accessible. So I start people with through working with slow, deep, full, conscious breathing and conscious muscle tension and muscle release, and deliver an experience to people by coming through the body. And they discover experientially, as I said, that when the muscles are relaxed, their minds get quiet, their emotions get calm. And you don't always have to sit in a quiet place for 10, 15, 20 minutes and quiet your mind. You can be on the subway and doing slow, or even driving your car and doing slow, deep, full breathing. And in fact, a lot of my students find that, yeah, obviously you do it with your eyes open when you're driving, but you can, do it consciously while you're driving and arrive at your destination relaxed and have real intense, good concentration.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be just quieting the mind. You can focus on quieting the body.
Right. Stress expert Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who I'm sure you know, and this is the last question I'm going to ask, and then we'll open it up to our participants. He suggests that there's two types of mental states when meditating. One's where you focus on something, maybe a word, a mantra, an affirmation, a number, and then the other is what you just alluded to, and that's focusing on your breath, like, four in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 out. And then the other is where your thoughts and your mind begins to stray, takes you out of your relaxed state or practice. So how can we overcome that kind of concern of we're not doing it right? Like how do we get out?
Well, it's interesting. I studied with a Tibetan Buddhist teacher for many years, and she was considered one of the top meditation teachers in North America. She would not teach her meditation students mindfulness until they had at least 2 to 3 years of sitting meditation under their belt. And what I've been seeing now is that the current zeitgeist is, teaching mindfulness as an entry level for a lot of people, and many people are finding it very, very challenging because, as my business partner says, it's like trying to teach differential calculus to someone in grade 4. That that's advanced. Mindfulness is an advanced. It's probably the most effective and most powerful of all the meditations, but it should be practiced after people really learn how to quiet themselves and get into meditative states, and then they can really become mindful to a level that most people can't imagine. But everybody has to experiment to find the strategies that can work for them. But you have to take on a responsibility to do it and not wait. I mean, unfortunately, I see so many people who wait until they're in the ditch or they hit a wall. Then they come looking, and sometimes it's too late because they've got the diagnosis already. But if people could develop a sense of, learning simple techniques and doing them. And again, you want me to do a short meditation with the people right now?
Well, towards the end.
I would like to. Pardon me?
Another few minutes, yeah.
Yeah, because I would introduce, say, a simple breathing exercise and a simple awareness technique that you do it once, you know how to do it.
Okay.
But the challenge is doing it and getting into a practice of doing it.
Right. I'm going to cut you off, and I'm going to go to the group if they have questions. Okay. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Just before we do, one of the experts, doctors featured in that documentary, The Connection Mind-Body, is Dr. Craig Hassad. And he's one of the world's leading experts in mind-body medical research, who is also the founding president of the Australian Teachers of Meditation Association. And he says what you've been saying. 2 short 5-minute meditations at the beginning of the day and then early in the evening can serve us as full stops or moments of stillness to punctuate your day. He also suggests that you could try a number of commas throughout the day as well. That might include a 36 meditation before going into a meeting, or a 1 minute session, 1 minute meditation before lunch. Or he also finds if you're a public speaker that you do it, ahead of your talk, maybe by taking 20 long, slow, focused breaths in the woman's washroom can quickly put feelings of anxiousness or uncertainty back in their place. So Let's open up this call or the session for Q&A from our participants. Are there any questions from anyone? Just jump on in.
I have a question.
Okay.
It's Grant.
Hey, Grant, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I found this really helpful. I guess the one question I have is, I've heard a lot of people talk about stress caused by sort of PTSD types of triggers. And I'm just wondering how mindfulness would sort of play into coping with that.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks.
PTSD is a result of an intense experience that it's not a stress of PTSD. PTSD is stress. Yes. Well, I don't know, but I can't necessarily speak to mindfulness per se, because mindfulness is not just meditation. Mindfulness is a very particular type of meditation, of which I said, for a lot of people, it may be a real challenge for PTSD. For some, it may be very good. I know that focus, for example, on relaxing the body has proved to be quite effective for PTSD. But again, I want to differentiate mindfulness. And people use the term now to encompass all meditation, and I have to differentiate in the same way I would differentiate. People say relaxation is this kind of thing you get when you walk the dog or knit or curl up with a good novel. And I would say no. I would tend to call those forms of recreation rather than relaxation. Relaxation, in my concept, the way I use the term, is the shift into the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you say mindfulness, do you mean mindfulness as taught by Kabat-Zinn or Vipassana as taught in the Buddhist tradition, or do you mean meditation?
I guess what I was talking about is applying the tools of mindfulness, meditation, and whatever to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, what is the most effective tool?
Well, I found, again, mindfulness is a specific thing. Meditation, or the kind of meditation that I'm involved with, which is more physically oriented. Again, well, for most people, they find that they can, by learning to regulate their reactions, through breathing, through muscle relaxation, through self-talk, they can change their internal states and helps them to reduce the effects of PTSD. I've had people who've been tortured. I've had police who had to deal with terrible situations that for decades they were dealing with the PTSD. And once they learned how to manage their internal reactions, they were able to get a handle on it. And many of them were, completely able to break out of it. Others were able just to manage themselves so much more effectively. But it's, again, I have to differentiate between the mindfulness, which just involves non-judgmentally watching your thoughts, and a more active form of meditation through breath work and through muscle relaxation. And I just have to, when you say mindfulness, I want to distinguish between the two, because I find that the mindfulness of just objectively watching your thoughts is a very powerful tool. I have had very little experience personally with people being able to successfully deal with PTSD using just mindfulness. personally.
Thank
But
you.
I can't speak to others.
Does that answer your question, Grant?
Yes, that was good. Thanks. There's a movie I saw that was really good. I know it's a comedy called Bad Boys,
Right.
with Will Smith and Lawrence Martin, I think, the second one. And in the movie, Martin Lawrence has an anger problem, a temper problem, and whenever he gets into that stage of really getting worked up and feeling trapped and stressed, he goes into his happy place. He has like a trigger word that brings him into his happy zone. I thought that was really great. I mean, even though it's not real, it was kind of a nice.
Well, it's not unreal. I mean, there are techniques that people use that are effective like that, and you establish an anchor. You anchor the calmness with a phrase, an image, and you can bring it back. But again, you have to grow that calm place inside, and that's what takes the time to train yourself to be able to let go into this state, and then you can trigger it quickly with a word, a phrase, a breath. Different. All the techniques are triggers. But what I have done in my career is been teaching people, transferring the state to people and saying, there are many types of triggers, and I want you to experiment to find which triggers work best for you. I find almost everybody relates very well to the breathing, but some people prefer the more mind-oriented techniques, such as, repeating a mantra or a phrase or an affirmation. Others prefer the more physically oriented, muscle tensing and letting go. But I always emphasize that there's nothing magical about any of the techniques. They are triggers. You experiment to find which triggers work best for you. And once you find a trigger, but along the way, you grow an experience, a state, by working with the different techniques and training yourself to progressively unwind and let go. When you get to the state where you can go into that deep, relaxed, quiet, recuperative state, and you just discover which triggers work best for you. And once you're, they talk about, once you're stretched to a point, you can come back to that point with greater and greater ease. I find that in my courses, it takes people, the sessions are 3 hours long because it takes that amount of time to progressively take people down into deeply relaxed states. And most people, after 3 hours, come out saying they haven't felt this way ever, or at least since they were children. But after just a few weeks of practicing, most people are able on their own, within 5 minutes, to drop down into a state of relaxation at the beginning of the course took hours to get to. And that's the transfer of the state. And you just experiment which triggers work best for you to get you there.
We're at just about 8 o'clock, and we started a little late. So are we okay, Eli, to go another 15 minutes or so? Everybody?
10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Yes, I can.
Any other questions? All right, let's move along. I got a couple of other questions for you, and then I do want to get into a meditation.
One of the things, if we're going to do a meditation, I would like to suggest perhaps doing it now.
Okay.
So we have plenty of time. I would like to, and then if there's time at the end, we can. I'll take any more questions. But I would like to deliver an experience because I'm an experiential trainer.
All right.
And it's my pleasure to be able to get to. But I'm going to have to ask everybody, please, if you're driving a car, do not listen.
Yes. Well, listen, don't do it.
And get into a comfortable position.
All right, people, we're going to do a meditation here.
Okay. Is everybody ready? I'm ready. Okay. So I'm going to invite you, please, to close your eyes and to begin to breathe in through your nose and deliberately guide the air down into your tummy so that as you inhale, your tummy rises, and as you breathe out, your tummy falls. You want to breathe in through your nose. You can breathe out through your mouth or out through your nose, but always in through your nose and deliberately guide the air down so that when you inhale, the bottom third of your lungs, so your tummy, rises. You don't want your chest to move. You want to deliberately guide the air down into your abdomen so that as you breathe in, your tummy rises, and as you breathe out, your tummy falls. This is the way a child breathes. This is the way you used to breathe. So really get in touch with your birthright. This is diaphragmatic breathing. This is healthy, relaxed breathing down into the bottom third of your lungs. Breathing and emotions are intimately connected. We sigh, we gasp, we hold our breath. Most of us tend to breathe in our upper 2/3 of our lungs, into our chest. And that's the breathing of stress. The breathing of relaxation is deeper and down into your tummy. So get a feel for relaxed breathing. Let your tummy rise and fall with each breath. And if you're sitting and you're finding it challenging to get the air down into your tummy, later lie down on your back and practice it. It'll come very quickly. But this is relaxed breathing. And just, it's so important to appreciate that breathing and emotions are intimately connected. That when you're angry, when you're stressed, when you're frightened, your breathing will always be shallow and in your chest. When you're relaxed, your breathing will be deeper and diaphragmatic. So get in touch with diaphragmatic breathing. And what I want you to do now is on your next breath, breathe in through your nose as before and take the air into your tummy, let your tummy expand, but then continue to breathe in, pushing out your ribs and filling your chest. Slow, deep, full breath, filling your lungs from the bottom up. And then as you exhale, just allow your muscles to relax. The word to relax in Latin literally means to let go. So each time you exhale, allow yourself to let go of the tightness. Most of us go through our lives with our bodies braced as if we were in the dentist chair. Notice that. Each time you exhale, let go. Let go of the tightness. And just breathe slowly in through your nose, into your tummy. Let your tummy expand. And then slowly and deliberately fill your lungs from the bottom right to the top, from your hips right to your neck. And with every out breath, just let go a bit more. Give yourself permission to let go. And just sometimes just 2 or 3 or 4 minutes of this deep, full breathing can just work wonders. You could be lying in bed and tossing and turning, or behind a desk and your mind is racing. Sometimes just a couple of minutes of this deep, full breathing can just work wonders. And what I'd like you to do now, when you finish the breath you're doing now, I'm going to invite you now to breathe in, as before, in through your nose, down into your tummy, but breathe into a count of 4, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Hold your breath now for a count of 4. And then exhale for a count of 4. And each time you exhale, let go just a little bit more. Give yourself permission to relax. Let your mind stay alert, but let go of the tightness in your body. Let your shoulders relax. Let your jaw go. Relax your stomach. So it's inhaling for a count of 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4. And if you feel comfortable doing it to 4, increase it to 5, to 7, to 10, to 12. Inhale to a count, hold for a count, exhale for a count. You can actually do this when you're driving. It helps to sharpen your concentration. A lot of people like to do this when they walk. They'll inhale for 6 or 8 steps, hold their breath for 6 or 8 steps, exhale for the same number of steps. It's very practical. And just now, I'm going to ask you to try to do this as slowly as you comfortably can. Inhale in through your nose, down into your tummy, to a really slow count. Inhale to a slow count. Hold the breath for the same slow count. And then exhale for this nice slow count. And do one more as slowly as you comfortably can. And when you finish that breath, just sit with your eyes closed and just be aware of what you're feeling. And when you finish that breath, just sit with your eyes closed and be aware of what you're feeling. And I'm going to invite you now, please, just to focus your attention onto your forehead. And let your forehead be loose and smooth. And relax your eyelids. Of all the muscles in your body, your eyelid muscles are among the easiest to relax. So let your eyelids go loose. And relax your cheeks and your jaw. Let your jaw go. Many of us carry a lot of tightness in the jaw. Let it go. Let your tongue be loose. Let your lips slightly part. Loose, heavy tongue. Just let go of all the tightness in your face. And let relaxation now spread down to your neck and shoulders. Let your shoulders go and let relaxation just move down your arms. Relax your biceps, triceps, and your forearms. And your hands. It's letting go. Let your arms and hands be loose and heavy, like balloons filled with wet cement. Relax your chest and your solar plexus and your stomach. Let it go. Let your mind stay alert. Remember, the word to relax means to let go. So let go of your stomach. Let go of your jaw. Now focus your attention, please, into your upper back. And let your upper back go loose. Let it unknot. And let relaxation move down into your mid-back, into your lower back. And allow relaxation to move down into your buttocks and thighs, calves, and feet. It's letting go. And just focus your attention at your nostrils. And don't control the breath, but just observe it. Just see if you can be aware of the air coming in and going out of your nose. Can you notice the air cooler as it enters and warmer as it leaves? Focus. Mind alert. Breathing naturally. Just see if you can be aware of the air coming in and going out of your nostrils. See if you can notice where the out-breath turns and starts to become an in-breath, the turning point of the breath, or where the in-breath turns to become an out-breath. Can you catch the point where the breath changes its direction? Just observe it. Do not control, just observe. Watch. Can you catch the turning point of each breath? And just focus your awareness now, please, into your thumbs. And see if you can mentally locate the pulse in your thumbs. This is the relaxation response. This is the state in which the stress is neutralized, shut down. This is the state in which your body heals and restores and replenishes itself. Know it. Enjoy it. It's yours. Now please take a deep, full breath and hold it for a moment and let it go. And slowly now, little bit by little bit, just slowly, 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 please begin to open your eyes. Little bit, a little bit by little bit. Is anybody there?
Yep.
Okay.
How was that for everybody? You feel relaxed?
It's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, good. I have two quick questions for you. You talked about Dr. Herbert Benson, an expert in the mind-body connection to healing. And he realized and found, the relaxation response, the opposite to the fight or flight response you talked about, which was first described in the 1920s by American psychologist or physiologist Walter Cannon. So as a cardiologist, Benson was delighted to have found something measurable, predictable, and reproducible, and it heralded the beginning of a new wave of mind-body research. So he says that we now have the evidence-based proof that the mind can heal, and it should be added appropriately to drugs and surgery. So real quick, can you share a case study, Eli, of a client you've worked with that was able to transform their life and health through managing the thoughts, the beliefs, and the doctor's diagnosis?
Well, that comes right to mind. I remember teaching a course where I had this man come in, and in the first session where people go around and they share their names, what kind of work they do, and what they heard, how they heard about the program, and what they hope to gain from it. This guy's sitting with his arms and legs crossed, and he said, "I'm a retired scientist," and he says, "I measure." He said, "I'm a skeptic." I said, "Well, great." I said, "It's not about belief, it's about doing it. What's real is what you experience." And I said, "And if you take measurements, share your measurements as we go through this program." He came with high blood pressure, diabetes, and an atrial fibrillation. Now, you got to consider those three as serious medical conditions. And then one would kind of think that relaxation may have little to offer. Well, he came to the third class and he was beside himself with excitement, and he reported that his blood pressure had dropped to normal. And I see that with regularity, so it didn't surprise me very much. But what did surprise me was when he came into the fifth class, this is in 4 weeks, he came to the fifth class and he reported that his blood sugar had dropped from 14.8, which is a serious diabetic condition, to 6.5, which is considered in the normal range. And he was controlling his atrial fibrillations. Now, that was just doing relaxation in 4 weeks. So I have to say that that's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, it is pretty dramatic. The last question.
And I've been in.
Sorry, Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
All right. So the last question is, we lead busy lives. Alongside busyness comes chronic stress. And in the U.S., more than 120,000 deaths per year are associated with work-related stress, such as long working hours, which is a badge of honor for a lot of people, job insecurity, work-family conflict. It's not just in the West. The Japanese even have a special name for death by overwork. It's called karoshi, with an estimated 10,000 incidents a year. In China, they call it guliosi, with a staggering 600,000 incidents estimated each year. What can we do in our workplace, maybe within our communities and our community groups like religious, social, professional, to put in a practice of meditation, quieting the mind, making it okay to practice this at work or in our groups or in our social connections and communities? What do we need to do to begin?
We have to appreciate that this is not just something that we do because it feels good. We do it because it's vital. We need to break out of the cycle of stress, and there's so much evidence now that it's not even debatable. It's a question of making a personal choice, and for our organizations to appreciate that it's a bottom line issue. It's costing them tremendous amount of money. Most companies just write off the stress, and there is nobody. Part of my work is to take this into organizations, and one of the challenges we found is that there's nobody in an organization that really wakes up in the morning saying, "How can I lower the cost of stress?" Their health costs, yes, and that, but very few people really kind of are set up in organizations to really understand the cost of stress and how to reduce it. And I mean, I've been doing this for 4 decades, and it's sort of so surprising. And I think it's part of it is that we're a type A culture. It's all about doing, and there's still the whole concept of being is given short shrift in our culture. But we all have to take individual responsibility. And as managers and owners of organizations, this is something that wise people have to sort of implement in our organizations. Again, not because you're a good person, but it's a bottom line issue. Stress is a major cost to us as individuals, to us as families, to neighborhoods and communities, to countries. It's a major cost. I mean, it's not an accident that the International Labor Organization at the UN called stress the plague of our time.
On that note, where do we reach you?
EliBay.com, www.elibay.com.
Beautiful.
I have a home study program called Outer Stress, Inner Calm that really can offer the whole range of techniques. I do courses as well. I'm semi-retired now, so I'm not going to be doing any courses till the spring. I just finished my last courses. But the Outer Stress, Inner Calm, or I have MP3s and CDs for individual exercises. And, people find they like my voice, and I've been doing this. I figured that my 5-week program, we had to calculate recently, over 50,000 people went through that. But I've reached hundreds of thousands of people through my CDs, tapes, through my TV work. But it's all talk unless you do it.
Yeah.
And my message to everyone is make a space in your busy lives. I know you're busy. Everybody's busy. Carve it out, because it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. When you give yourself the skill of self-regulation, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Right. I'm going to quote Chris Carr. I started with her, and when we'll wrap, I hope everybody enjoyed this. She says, to reduce stress, meditate 5 minutes a day can make a difference in your life. Tap. Nick Ortner, CEO of Tapping Solution, the emotional freedom technique. That helps you reduce stress. Use essential oils. Spend time in nature. A walk. Even in the cold. I mean, if you layer up, you're sweating before too long. And then the last thing is to use affirmations, positive affirmations, that, no matter what, you'll be okay. Train your mind to think positively, because we really do. I know in my journey, my mind can be really negative. So replace the negative thoughts that come up with a positive affirmation, and practice your affirmations daily, under your breath. Eli, I want to thank you for being our first guest. I want to thank all the participants. Sorry about the issues with technology, but I'm going to try and sort that out, or not. I will. And if not, we'll
don't get stressed out by it.
Though. I'm not, because I think the phone option worked pretty darn well. So I want to thank everybody and thank you. And we're back next week with Tracy L. Clark. She's a dynamo. We're going to have 4 more great sessions, and this was a great kickoff. So thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone.
Have a
Take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.